The NBA franchise valuations are out, and man, the numbers are absolutely mind-blowing. If you're a Warriors fan, brace yourself because Golden State just hit a new level. We're talking over $11 billion. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. $11.33 billion. And here's the thing. They weren't even a top seed last season. This wasn't the peak Warriors era with 70-plus wins and a title on the horizon. They were a play-in team. So how does a team like that end up as the most valuable franchise in the league? Look, we all know Steph Curry is still that guy. Watching him in preseason, the quick release, the off-balance threes, the footwork, the confidence, it's magic. It's the kind of magic you only get from generational players. Steph still has that Jordan-like, how is he doing that, quality. And if he keeps this up, we might be watching him ball out well into his 40s. But even with Curry still being a top draw, we're talking about valuation numbers that feel inflated. I mean, just look at the other teams. The Lakers with LeBron James, with a massive global fan base, with the legacy, the championships, the recent playoff runs, they're not even number one. They were recently sold, and even that price tag, which was around $10 billion, didn't beat the Warriors' current valuation. The Celtics just won a championship, and they're reportedly operating an $88 million loss, and that's after winning the title. Minnesota made the conference finals, and they're valued at less than half of the Warriors. Something here isn't adding up. So what's driving these numbers? One part of it, sure, is the Chase Center. The Warriors own their arena, and that matters. Most teams are tenants. The Lakers don't own Crypto.com Arena. The Clippers are building their own, but it's not done yet. The Nets have Barclays, and the Knicks have a Garden, but beyond that, most teams don't own the real estate. The Chase Center, plus the surrounding development and the Bay Area market, definitely boost the bottom line. But enough to justify $11.3 billion? That's hard to fully wrap your head around. Then there's the fact that a lot of these teams, even the most valuable ones, are losing money, like literally operating in the red. The Celtics, as mentioned, took a loss last season. The Timberwolves reportedly lost $100 million. Even with a strong playoff run and a rising roster, they aren't turning profits, at least not directly. And yet, their valuations keep going up. The Blazers? Still a mess. And yet Tom Dundon is already seeing gains on his investment just from owning the team a short time. No titles, no deep playoff runs, and their roster is far from contending. But somehow, the value increases. It feels like the NBA has turned into Silicon Valley. The product doesn't have to make money today, because everyone is betting on what it might be worth tomorrow. That's why it starts to feel like a bubble. Not necessarily a bad one, but a bubble nonetheless. Because at a certain point, if the product doesn't produce on the court or generate massive returns off the court, something's got to give. The Warriors are elite now, but if Steph retires, if Clay and Draymond fade away, if they don't draft the next star or land a blockbuster trade, then what? Do the fans still pack Chase? Do the ratings hold up? Does the merch still fly off the shelves in Asia? Or what does the valuation take a dip? It's a serious question, and one that Joe Lacob and Peter Guber have to be asking themselves. Right now, they're holding a golden ticket. If they sold this team today, they could easily fetch $15 billion or more, especially if the buyer sees potential in continuing the Warriors' global branding machine. But if the window closes, if the stars retire or leave, if the rebuild hits a snag, then that value might not hold. That's the risk. And look, no one's saying Lacob doesn't love this team. He's been one of the most invested owners in the league. He built this thing from the ground up, turned it into a dynasty, helped open the Chase Center, and brought in his sons to eventually take over. It's personal for him, but this is a business. And when you're talking about numbers like $15 billion, sometimes the best business move is to cash out before the next cycle hits. Then there's the issue of Jonathan Kuminga. Man, this guy is a lightning bolt off the bench, and he's bringing the energy every time he steps on the court. But now he's getting fined $35,000 for making contact with an official. Not ideal. Coach Kerr downplayed it a bit, said he liked the fire and the passion, and that he doesn't mind the ejection. But this is something that could become a real problem if he doesn't find the balance. We've seen this movie before. We lived it with Draymond Green. There's a fine line between fiery competitor and someone who hurts their team with unnecessary fouls or ejections. You think back to that 2016 Finals, Game 5, when Draymond got suspended and the momentum completely flipped. Kuminga needs to be careful not to follow that path. The Warriors can't afford to lose key minutes from a guy like him, especially if they're relying on him to anchor that second unit. What makes this even more complicated is that Kuminga isn't locked in as a starter. He's making close to $23 million, and that's starter money. You don't want to be paying that to a bench guy long term. If the team decides he's not the fit they need in the lineup, then that contract could be flipped. Miami has been floated as a possible destination, especially if the Heat want to move on from someone like Bam Adebayo. That's a big ask, and nothing's guaranteed, but Kuminga needs to show that he's got the maturity and control to be a serious trade asset, not a liability. The key is for him to embrace the sixth-man role. Be that firecracker off the bench. Lead the second unit with energy, intensity, and scoring. He does that, and suddenly he becomes one of the most valuable players on the roster, whether that's to the Warriors or someone else. But if he lets the emotions run too hot, he risks hurting his value entirely. And let's not pretend like the league won't notice. GMs around the NBA are always watching, especially when it comes to young, athletic forwards on big contracts. Meanwhile, trade talk around Giannis has basically cooled off completely. It's clear the Bucks are doing everything they can to keep him happy. They just cut a guaranteed player so they could bring in both of his brothers. That's not something you do unless you're all in on keeping your superstar long term. And with the way he's been playing next to Miles Turner, Milwaukee might actually be a serious threat again this year. Which brings it back to the Warriors. All the noise, all the speculation, at the end of the day, they need to focus on what's directly in front of them. That means the Clippers. That's the next game. That's the next test. This is the start of the season, and these are the games that build momentum. Remember the 73-win season? They started with a monster winning streak. Momentum matters. Confidence matters. And this team needs to figure out what it takes to get back to that level. Not in April, but right now in October. Looking ahead to the start of the season, the Warriors are facing a very real challenge. And it's not just about climbing the standings or proving they're still contenders. It's about establishing an identity in a league that's changed dramatically even in just the past 2 seasons. The Western Conference is stacked. The Nuggets are still riding the Jokic wave. The Lakers have reloaded. The Kings are no longer a feel-good story. They're a real threat. And even young teams like the Rockets and Thunder are getting better, fast. So for Golden State, the margin for error is shrinking by the day, and it all starts with how this team adapts to its current roster and rotation. That brings us back to Quinton Post. He's shown flashes. You can see the offensive skill, the ability to space the floor, to stretch defenses out of the paint, to hit shots from beyond the arc. That's valuable in today's NBA. But the issue with Post isn't his shooting, it's his physicality. Right now, he's just not built to bang bodies with the top-tier bigs in the league. Guys like Jokic, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford. They'll feast on a center who can't hold his ground defensively. And it's not just strength. It's positioning, awareness, the ability to take hits and still contest without fouling. That's the area Post has to grow in if he's going to be a reliable rotation piece. And it's not like the Warriors are stacked with size. This roster isn't built to bully teams in the paint. It's built to shoot, to move, to play fast, and to rely on defensive schemes rather than brute strength. That formula works when it's clicking, when Draymond is directing traffic, when Wiggins is locked in on the perimeter, when Steph and Clay are scoring efficiently and not turning the ball over. But when the size disadvantage starts to show, especially in the rebounding battle or on second-chance points, it becomes a real concern. That's where the Warriors are going to need to make some kind of move during the season. Whether it's finding a defensive-minded center who can give them 10 to 15 tough minutes a night, or reshaping the bench unit to get more consistent rebounding and rim protection, something has to give. Because the West doesn't wait. If you fall behind early, clawing your way back in a playoff position becomes a full-blown war, and that's exactly what they want to avoid. Now when it comes to trades, a lot of fans keep circling back to Jonathan Kuminga, not because they don't like his game, but because his value might never be higher. He's young, explosive, under contract, and flashes serious two-way potential. That's exactly the kind of player teams like Miami, Toronto, or even Chicago would be interested in, especially if they're ready to pivot into something new or offload a veteran. But if the Warriors want to get back a true difference maker, Kuminga might have to be part of the price. Still, that doesn't mean they're desperate. In fact, with the current depth, they can afford to wait, at least until January 15th when Kuminga becomes trade eligible. The key between now and then is development. Can he stay disciplined? Can he stay focused? Can he turn that high energy into controlled aggression instead of emotional outbursts? Because no team's going to give up a star player for a guy who's getting tossed out of games or racking up technicals. He has to show growth, not just highlight plays. Another wrinkle in all this is the future of the Warriors front office. Joe Lacob has made it clear this franchise is a family business now. His sons Kent and Kirk are deeply involved. Kirk is being groomed to eventually take over as governor, and Kent, who's already running the Santa Cruz Warriors, is in line to move up into a bigger role, possibly even replacing Mike Dunleavy Jr. in the front office down the road. That level of succession planning isn't just about legacy, it's about long-term control. If they do sell, they want to be sure they're handing the keys to someone who respects the culture they've built. But if they don't sell, then this leadership group is going to be responsible for navigating the next phase, the post-Curry phase, and that's going to be a completely different challenge. Because let's be honest, once Steph is gone, this team's entire identity shifts. There's no replacing that kind of player. Not just his talent, but his marketability, his charisma, his influence on and off the court. The Warriors without Steph won't just look different. They'll be different. The Chase Center won't have the same buzz. National TV games won't come as often. Global fan engagement might dip. And that's where the franchise value might finally reflect the on-court product. Which is why there's a real argument to be made that now, not next year, not 2 years from now, but right now might be the best time to sell. If a new ownership group steps in with full knowledge that a rebuild is coming, they're coming in with their eyes wide open. They can tear it down, build it back up with young players, clear cap space, be patient, and start a new chapter. It's actually the perfect time for a buyer who wants a clean slate, but with a legacy foundation already in place. And at the current valuation, it might be the best return Lacob and Gruber will ever get. How games get away from you. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. The NBA rumor mill is buzzing this week after whispers surfaced that Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning Finals MVP and cornerstone of the Milwaukee Bucks, has received an enticing offer from the Golden State Warriors. Sources close to the league suggest that Giannis' response was nothing short of intriguing. It would be an honor, he allegedly said when presented with the proposal. If true, this statement has ignited a wildfire of speculation across social media and sports talk shows alike. The Warriors, fresh off a championship run, have been looking to secure another superstar to complement their already formidable lineup, and Giannis would be a dream acquisition. Known for his unique combination of size, agility, and basketball IQ, Antetokounmpo could seamlessly fit alongside Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, forming a lineup that could redefine modern basketball dominance. While the Bucks have built their identity around Giannis for nearly a decade, this development, if substantiated, could mark one of the most sensational player movements in recent NBA history. Insiders note that Giannis has always expressed loyalty to Milwaukee, but the mere acknowledgement of interest from the Warriors adds fuel to the ever-burning fire of trade rumors. The potential fit, both stylistically and culturally, would create a team capable of contending for multiple championships for years to come. Fans and analysts are already dissecting every possible angle. Could Giannis' reported openness signal a willingness to explore a new chapter, or was it simply a polite nod to one of the league's most storied franchises? While the Bucks front office remains tight-lipped, speculation is rampant, with some suggesting that this could be the beginning of a seismic shift in the NBA landscape. Regardless of the truth behind the rumor, the conversation has captured the imagination of basketball enthusiasts worldwide. The notion of Giannis Antetokounmpo in a Warriors jersey is enough to send shivers down the spines of competitors and create endless debate among fans. As the offseason unfolds, All eyes will be on Milwaukee and Golden State, waiting to see if this tantalizing whisper becomes the league's biggest headline. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.